I think what I hear a lot is this idea of decoupling headcount from capacity, right? I think in in-house legal and enterprise specifically, you've always had almost a direct connection between the number of people you had and the amount of capacity you have in the legal team. And that wasn't really changing, even by introducing technology, because the technology could only really help manage that work, so that the change was barely incremental. But now what you have is that model breaks for the first time. So you can now scale capacity without actually increasing headcount. Or you can keep capacity the same while reducing headcount. And those are the kind of two scenarios I see, or I guess there's three scenarios I see. I see teams that need to grow, but they maybe do not want to increase headcount. So they want to increase their capacity by hiring agents or an autonomous intelligence that's governed by the rules of their legal team, but means that they don't maybe need to do their 10, 20, 30 hires that they've planned over the next 2 years, or only very selectively for like very high specialized roles. So that's one scenario. The other scenario I see is where there's budget cuts. So the legal team gets told you have to reduce internal spend by 10 or 20%. Now, how are they going to do that? Well, keeping the capacity running and also keeping their promises to the business. That's another scenario that I see. And then the other one is the one you mentioned, where there's maybe a shared services center, or they've outsourced certain things, or they even outsource lower complexity work to law firms because they just don't have the capacity internally, and taking some of that back in-house. So those are really the three scenarios that I see. And I think for the first time in 2025 now, it's actually a very enticing proposition, not just for legal, but also the CFO, or if you look at it financially for the company, because of this disconnect between capacity and headcount. Because what you can do now is you can come in and say, hey, our costs are going to remain stable, but we're growing revenue by 50% next year. We'll be able to manage that with the same team by making this initial investment. Because these autonomous systems, they can run 50 processes in one go. There's no limit on capacity for that given use case.
Yeah, and I think what you're also articulating is that we're moving from a paradigm in which AI was being embedded within software tools, so it's still software as a service powered with AI or augmented with AI, to that intelligence becoming a product of its own that performs a lot more like a service, but has the predictability in pricing and output of a product. So this enables, as you said, it enables much more predictable spending. Potentially it enables you to reduce and reallocate your spending on services. But also, if you do look at the service provider themselves, if they're a service provider that is leveraging agents in this way, and as an enterprise GC or director of legal, I'm engaging that service provider, I'm likely going to get a much more low latency, highly consistent, predictably priced service than exists out on the market from the large legal service providers.